Ladies and men, this is Mitchell Roulane, and this is the podcast show for the average Joe, coming at you live. The Wrestling Diaries. What are you wrestling with? Check us out if you haven't yet. We're on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, moreover. We're also, more importantly, on our podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, which is iTunes, Pocket Cast, and was it Google Podcast? There's like a whole bunch of other ones. I've already forgotten the names of them. But check it out. Like if you have any of the streaming services and you like to listen to podcasts, especially if you live in the local area, we have a bunch of people from the local community. Gentleman I'm about to have on now is actually from Pennsylvania. I had a lady on last week from Manchester, England. So yeah, check it out. Today we have my really, really good friend, Dr. Mo Rengen from Pennsylvania. What's up, Doc?
What's up, Mitchell? Good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see you too, man. So tell everybody out there exactly your doctoral credentials, because for people who are wondering. Let's go.
Where do I start, man? Because once I say I'm a gastroenterologist, then the jokes are flowing.
Yeah, right.
I get called right away. So you're an ass man. Is that your license plate?
That's super hilarious. I can imagine.
So yeah, I've been practicing gastroenterology for about 15 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in the Bronx. Yeah, I know you mentioned knowing a woman from the Bronx. I was born in New York and lived there for 10 years, and I moved to Baltimore when I was 10. So I really consider Baltimore home. Big Ravens fan, big Orioles nut as well.
Yeah,
and kind of traveled to do my training. Went to med school in Los Angeles. Did my residency back in Baltimore, and my fellowship in gastroenterology in Houston. So I spent some time in the South.
Dang, dude, you've been all over the place, bro.
Yeah, and I moved to Pennsylvania because of my my bride, who's soon to be ex.
Wow.
But yeah, so here I am in Pennsylvania practicing, which has been quite a ride, got to say.
Okay, nice. So for anybody wondering, that's what he's a doctor of poop. I'm kidding. Also, so you have a huge affinity for cannabis. So let's go into that exactly. Tell people out there, because a lot of people are not at all 100%, especially a lot of people down here in Alabama. They're not educated on marijuana, cannabis, hemp, stuff like that. So take us down a little. First of all, why did you get into it? And then secondly, educate people on this wonderful herb.
Damn, I could talk for hours on cannabis. So to answer the first part of that question, how did I get interested? Well, I think all of us we dabbled in cannabis in college. So it definitely wasn't for medical uses back then.
Okay.
But when I started med school in Los Angeles in California in 1996, I mentioned that for a reason. Because that's when medical marijuana was first legalized in the U.S. California was the first state to legalize it with the Compassionate Use Act of 1996. And it just so happens I was there starting my first year of med school. And one of my mentors, his wife, had been diagnosed with breast cancer, undergoing chemotherapy, and she wasn't really tolerating the medications well. Nothing was really helping her nausea or vomiting or her anorexia. So the family decided to go down the path of cannabis, and I watched it change her life. And I was surprised but intrigued at the same time. And I thought, there has to be something to this. So bless you. I started realizing, and researching it, and then going back into history, how it's been used for medicine for 5,000 years. Yeah. And it's absurd that it's still illegal today in the U.S.
It is. I agree 100%. At least for medicinal purposes, right? Like it should be at least. That's what I keep telling people. If nothing else, it should be legal for medical purposes all across the board because it could save people's lives. Now, when you're in med school, do they teach you? Do you learn about that stuff?
Absolutely not.
Why do you think that is? Why is that?
Again, it's because of the Controlled Substance Act back in 1970, which made cannabis a Schedule 1 drug, meaning it has no medical benefit and it's highly addictive. And it was placed in the category with LSD and heroin.
Oh, wow.
Um, it's illegal. So what are we going to do with it? We can't. There's no reason to study it because we're not going to use it. So it's only being used in the black market to get high, and the
Right.
hippies and all the bad people.
Yeah, there was a lot
So
of what is it, propaganda back in like the 50s and 60s against marijuana and stuff like that. Was that
yeah,
that movie Reefer Madness?
yeah. So
You like
you
that
know a
movie?
little bit about
Yeah.
I think
Isn't that your
it's
favorite movie?
ridiculous. It tells you how cannabis uh, allows men of color to feel like they're equal to white men, and allows white women to have sex with those men, which is again quite ridiculous.
Is that from the movie? That movie? I've never seen that
Yeah.
movie before, so
Oh yeah, you need to.
I
I
only
had
know
it
about it
on.
because of that band Sublime. They had
Yeah,
an
no,
insert from that movie
it's
in there.
back in the late 30s, and again, it was 1937. It was a Marijuana Tax Act. If you really, I can go into all kinds of history here. Um, Marijuana at that time wasn't illegal. However, you needed a approval from the government. You need a stamp saying that I can possess this and I can use it. And it wasn't until 1970 that it became illegal in the U.S. So between 37 and 70, you could still use it. You just needed a special stamp approval.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There and like back in I don't. This is like paraphrasing something I don't even really know what I'm talking about, but a bunch of like people used to farm hemp and stuff back in like what the pioneer days, right? That was a huge like crop that people did, right? It was hemp. They used hemp to make clothing and different things like that. Textiles.
Yep. I mean, God, even the Declaration of Independence was drawn on hemp paper. So imagine that. I mean, it was one of the first crops available in the U.S. So cannabis was used as medicine in China in 3000 BC, and in 2000 BC, it made its way to India, and then it came to the U.S. in 1611 with the Jamestown settlers. Yeah, so that was the biggest crop back then, and the settlers, Americans, were advised to use it because it did so much. And it wasn't until the Nixon administration, he had two guys on his cabinet, Anslinger and Randolph Hearst. You probably recognize that name.
Yeah.
These guys were primarily responsible for the prohibition of marijuana. And why is that? A lot of it was because of political corruption and corporate greed. So Anslinger, who was the director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which is now today the DEA, he they were definitely against hemp because they were being backed by the DuPont family, who developed rayon and nylon. So this company had skin in the game. They had a lot of money.
It's conflicting with business. I see.
And they wanted hemp out of the equation. So Anslinger and Hearst did what they could, the best they could, to create propaganda and fear in the American public, which then led to this beautiful plant being illegal. So here we are. But times are changing.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of states are starting to
33 states right now have it approved for medical use, and over 10 for recreational or adult use. So we're getting there.
Yeah. In your state, you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
And so it's, what is it? Just for medicine there? Or is it
just medical use? It got approved in 2016. Okay. So again, I followed cannabis since med school years. I watched it through my residency when I was in Baltimore. I watched it help guys that had, and Baltimore is a large black population, and they suffer from sickle cell anemia. And when they have sickle cell crisis, they get a lot of bone pain. And the only thing that was really helping a lot of my patients coming in was black market cannabis. And then I moved to Texas, and I trained at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, which is the world's largest medical center. And I watched cannabis and CBD, how it worked with kids with seizures and patients that had terrible nausea, vomiting, anorexia. So I told myself, and I told my wife, that once it ever becomes legal in Pennsylvania, I want to be part of the movement. And in 2016, the bill was passed, and we started getting product the following year. So the industry is booming in Pennsylvania right now. they're estimating it to be $1 billion industry in another 2-3 years.
Now, do you, I guess, do you prescribe like cannabis supplementation to your patients that come to see you for GI issues?
Yeah, good question. So there's no prescription because again, it's not a formal medication.
Okay.
So what you have to do is it's a recommendation.
Okay.
And so the steps are really simple. And I'm in my office right now and I keep this card here, which I don't know, you can't really see it all that well, but it outlines 4 steps and how a patient can acquire medical marijuana
Right.
in Pennsylvania. And it's simply just getting on the Department of Health's website, registering, finding a physician to certify you, and then getting your card in the mail a few days later, going to a local dispensary and getting your product.
Yeah. And what would
Yeah,
you say?
I definitely I do recommend it often. I think just about daily, I'm telling a patient or educating a patient or two about cannabis. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. What would you say
yeah,
to a conflicting professional person that was like, "Oh, this is a bunch of BS. They're just trying to get people to so they can do drugs and stuff. It's not for medical. Like it doesn't do anything medically." What would you say to someone like
yeah,
that? Because
yeah.
people
I
like that
think
exist. It sounds crazy, but people like that absolutely exist.
absolutely, dude. And I'm in a group practice, a private group. There are 6 of us, and I would say I'm the only one that's really advocating for cannabis as medicine. The
Hmm.
rest of the guys still think it's a gateway drug to
Really?
harder drugs, to heroin, and I'm thinking, guys, wake up, man. In my experience and what I've seen, I call it the exit drug. It's getting my patients off of opioids. It's getting them off their antidepressants, their anxiety meds, their ADHD meds. I'm seeing tremendous results, and that's why I'm such a huge fan. And I'm the kind of doc that's gonna think outside the box and try to find a way to help my patient
That's
the best I
amazing,
can.
man. God, I wish there's so many other like doctors out there like you that were just that. I feel like you're I've known like a lot of doctors in my day, not a lot, but decent amount. And there's this like big stigma with doctors where they let the professionalism of the practice kind of take over some of their humanity, right? Because at the end of the day, like you are trying to improve the quality of life of human beings,
Right,
and I feel like
right.
some of them, are they kind of lose sight of that, and it becomes this weird ecosystem of money and politics and just all this bullcrap. And I feel like you're like the real deal, man. Like that. This is another reason why I'm friends with you, dude. If I didn't know that you were a doctor, I wouldn't assume you were a doctor. Not, and there is a stereotype, absolutely. Like a lot of people that I've met that are doctors. I used to go to travel around the country, and I met some doctors and professors and stuff, and there's just certain air that people have that for because of the title. I mean, it's an important title, sure, but I mean, some people just walk around and it's like, oh yeah, like you should just listen to me. You're silly. I'm a doctor. Who are you? Like, it's weird to me, and I don't get that vibe from. And I feel like that's really good too, especially like because if I was one of your patients and you were talking to me like you're talking to me now about this stuff, I would just be open arms. And if you screwed me over, well, then you did a really good job of like making me comfortable and feeling like I don't know, like I could trust you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what's great about you, dude. Like you're just very down to earth. You're also very just like you're one of those guys that wears your heart on your sleeve, right? Like what you see is what you get. And that's the kind of
Absolutely.
person I try to be as best as
Yeah.
I can. So, I
Well, I
mean,
appreciate those comments, dude.
yeah, I mean, just call it
And
like I see it.
yeah, I was doing a survey the other day, and the guy said, "Take me through your treatment approach, how you tackle things." And I told him, I said, "It's not a dictator relationship here with my patients. I sit down, I get to know the patients pretty well. I spend a lot of time with them. I get to know their support structure, their partners, their family members, whoever's involved in their care, and we sit down, and we develop a therapeutic approach to what they need
Hmm.
because it takes the whole family, the whole community, not just one person, me saying, this is what you need to do. It
Yeah,
doesn't work like that.
right.
The patient needs to feel like they're somewhat empowered and that they had a role to play in their treatment. So that's kind of how I do it. And you were saying cannabis. Okay. So a lot of people are fearful of the stigma, don't know a lot about how to acquire CBD or THC, any cannabinoid. And I tell them, I said, well, You've been frustrated with the medical system with traditional medicine for how long? Isn't it worth a shot? It's plant based. It's a
Yeah, it's a
natural
plant, right?
therapy. So what do you have to lose? It's not gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
It's definitely not gonna kill you.
People are pumping their bodies full of all these like artificial chemicals and crap made in a lab and all this stuff. Like
Yeah,
people want to make a deal about a plant. Well, then somebody would be like, yeah, but you can't like go out there and eat this plant; it'll kill you and stuff like that. That would be someone's argument. Like, well, just because it's a plant doesn't mean anything. You can go out there and poison yourself with berries that you're not supposed to eat.
that's correct. But once again, the way the medical grade of cannabis is, it's high level. It's extracted, all the pesticides, all that stuff's removed.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting high quality product when you're going to a dispensary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay a premium for it, but isn't your health worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say
No.
I had a guest on the show by the name of Roger Brown. Shout out, bro, if you're watching this. But his mother-in-law has Parkinson's disease, and
Yeah.
her doctor, I don't know who her doctor is, but it's a doctor here in Alabama, and he recommended her to take CBD to get CBD oil, and God
Yeah.
bless him for it because Roger and his wife have said that her episodes from the Parkinson's disease, the shaking, the violent shakings and stuff like that, have really lowered and subsided, like I don't know, by like 60-70%, which is amazing just from taking those drops, right? He said
Yeah.
like her condition got progressively better once she started doing the CBD.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't understand why the hell it's not legal medically, at least medically. If you don't want people doing it recreationally, fine, whatever. But medically in Alabama, what's going on? Governor, mayors, whatever. What are you doing? Let's get it going. Save some people's lives.
There are only a few states left. There are only a few states left to get on board. So
I know, and I don't understand. I don't understand why this state that I'm in, because I'm in the country. People out here grow everything. You know, people have their
Right.
little farms, their gardens, like everybody. Like even in the city. I know somebody that lives in the city in Birmingham City, which is like there's no like land. It's just a city atmosphere, and people are
Yeah.
growing corn and crap. Like, come on. This place of all places I've felt would be like one of the first places to at least legalize it medically. So I don't understand, you know. And when they might be like, well, it's the Bible Belt. Well, I don't even know if that's. I mean, if that like, there's so many like Christian people that I know that use or they're at least advocates for cannabis or marijuana for at least medical purposes, if nothing else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know.
Dude,
I guess
I
it's
grew up
beyond me.
Pentecostal. I grew up Pentecostal. I'm a Christian,
Okay,
so I get it.
So did Lucifer.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
don't mean the real Lucifer. This is a mutual friend that we have named Lucifer.
And
Anyway.
how ironic is that? He grew up Pentecostal. His name is Lucifer.
Right. Well, he changed his name to that. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Never mind. Forget. I just said that. His name really is Lucifer. See, he's gonna kill me for that.
You were asking about the stigma, and I try to get it introduced into the practice somehow. Maybe devoting a day of the week to just seeing patients and certifying them.
Yeah.
And that was poo-pooed. I couldn't do it. It was in a GI practice, poo-poo, right?
Yeah. I see what you did there. Very clever, Doc.
So I kind of behind closed doors as I go in and see the patients, and I push the door shut. Then I start talking and preaching about cannabis to them.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting great results, and I'm going to keep on pushing.
That's really good. Where do you think, in your professional or unprofessional opinion, either one or both, where do you think cannabis is going in our country? What's going to happen? What's the future look like for that plant, for marijuana, for cannabis?
I think it's going to be descheduled within 3 to 5 years. We can use it for medical and adult use, and just responsibly. Just use it. And again, I like seeing the medical benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using it for social reasons, that's fine too. Just be responsible.
What do you think in its comparison? Because there's a lot of comparisons to marijuana and alcohol. What's your take on that? Alcohol versus marijuana.
I don't think you really can compare it. If you get on my Instagram page, you'll see I posted a little summary slide, alcohol versus cannabis, and the addictive potential of alcohol is so much higher than cannabis, and you can never overdose. from marijuana. And people don't understand that. But there's something called the endocannabinoid system. And the most abundant receptor in the human body, a lot of physicians don't know this, is the cannabinoid receptor.
Okay.
And it's mostly concentrated in the brain, but it's throughout the body, except in the brainstem and the respiratory center. That's why you can flood those receptors with cannabis. You'll never overdose. You'll never have respiratory depression. But if you take opioids or alcohol, they work in that respiratory center, and you can depress that to the point where you stop breathing and die.
Wow.
So yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So again, because I'm so passionate about cannabis, and I felt that I need to learn more about it now that there are over 300 some thousand patients on medical marijuana in Pennsylvania. So guaranteed, we're going to see patients every day who are using it. So I told myself I need to figure out exactly what is the mechanism of action. How does cannabis really work? What are the drug-to-drug interactions? Does it have any side effects? That kind of thing. So earlier this year, when COVID hit, it turned the world upside down, and people were like, "Oh, this, life has just become a complete shit show." But for me, I looked at it as an opportunity. I had some downtime. I thought, you know what, this would be a great time to learn more. And I found a course offered through the University of Vermont School of Medicine that offered a professional certification in the science and medicine of cannabis.
Okay.
And I thought, this is great. I'm going to do this. I did the course, and I felt like I was back in school.
Nice.
I had assignments due each week. I had quizzes weekly. We had Zoom calls. It was pretty intense, but the knowledge I gained was tremendous. And I really did get to understand the science behind it and how much research there really is backing up the use of cannabis. But it's all done in Israel. It's done in Europe. It just hasn't been done in the U.S. because of the Schedule 1 and being illegal. But once that changes, which is slowly changing, the DEA is starting to get their hands in cannabis, and they want to control it, who's growing it, who's manufacturing it, how it's distributed, and how it's studied. So that's all in the works right now. So it's going to happen in the U.S. And once it does, we'll see what everybody's been talking about for years, for thousands of years.
I wonder what people that were completely in the dark and just anti pot, anti marijuana, I wonder what they think. I would love to kind of rack someone's brain about, hey, so what do you think of this? Here's like a medical summary of somebody who cured their eating disorder, or their fibromyalgia's gone from supplementing with marijuana. Like, this is actual scientific medical research. What do you think of that? I wonder what
a lot of people don't really have an answer. And a lot of healthcare providers don't have a clue of what cannabis is and how it works. I mean, it's sad to say. If you take a poll of 100 physicians, have you ever heard of the endocannabinoid system? They'll shake their heads, say no. I would say 90 of them would say no. And that's something that was just recently described. So it's something that's not taught in med school, but it's a very important system.
Yeah.
And how we got to that point, a brilliant scientist in Jerusalem, his name is Raphael Mechoulam, discovered THC back in 1964. And the research started. However, it was halted because in 1970, the Controlled Substance Act made it illegal. So science kind of was halted because of, the stigma.
Right.
And it wasn't until 1988 that another group of scientists took an extract of THC and injected it into the brain of a rat and watched it go to a receptor. They radioactively labeled it, so it lit up. And they were like, wow, there's a receptor here for THC. So as they're studying THC, which is responsible for the psychoactive component of marijuana, for the cannabis plant, they noticed it was being concentrated in the brain. So they started thinking, well, that's unusual, because if you look at it as a lock and key configuration, and there's a lock in the body, well, the key can't exist outside of the body. There has to be a key that's made within intrinsically. So 4 years later, they discovered two endogenous cannabinoids, 2-AG and anandamide, and realized, holy shit, this is real. This is how THC works. So if your body is not making and producing those endogenous cannabinoids, you can use exogenous cannabinoids, or cannabinoids found in the plant, like THC, CBD. There's a whole slew of them. There are over 100 parts to this plant, including terpenoids and flavonoids, things that are responsible for the taste and the flavor of the plant itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so a brilliant scientist by the name of Ethan Russo, you had mentioned fibromyalgia. He recently theorized that in those medical conditions that physicians have no idea what causes, like irritable bowel syndrome, like fibromyalgia, like migraine headaches, there's probably a deficiency in those endogenous cannabinoids. And it's called the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. That's why THC and CBD work so well in these patients, and no one understands why. Well, there's this whole endocannabinoid system that's responsible for maintaining balance in your body. So if something's off, whether you're depressed, you're anxious, whatever, your body, it's almost like, there's an analogy that Bonnie Goldstein uses. Picture a ship in the ocean and kind of tipping. Once you start tipping, the endocannabinoid system kicks in and balances you back out. And it balances out those signals between the brain and the body. It's pretty fascinating stuff. Fascinating research.
Yes, it's absolutely fascinating, dude. Like, you're like just edgy. Like, my brain is like, what is going on right now?
I'm still blown away by how much research there is out there, and the theories, and Dr. Russo has demonstrated in mouse models, animal models, that there is a deficiency, and you replace it with CBD and THC, and damn, these people feel better. And
now, explain to everybody out there that is uneducated about this stuff, just like I am. What is the difference between the chemicals of CBD and THC? What are the differences?
That's a great question.
And what do they do?
So again, it's just part of the plant. And it's hard. It's going to be hard to study cannabis just because the plant's it's complicated, it's intricate, it has so many pieces to it. But THC is the most well-known and studied cannabinoid, phytocannabinoid. It's also known as delta-9 THC, and that's responsible for the psychoactive.
That's what gets you high, right?
Gets you high, exactly.
I gotcha.
CBD also is another. It's called cannabidiol. It's also another cannabinoid in the body. Again, hundreds of them have been described. Those are two most well known and studied.
Okay.
CBD works almost as an antagonist to THC, and where it works in the receptor in the body. So it's responsible for a lot of the therapeutic benefit of the plant without the high.
Okay.
That's why CBD is legal in all 50 states. It's just not controlled by the FDA and standardized.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of ridiculous claims out there for CBD, but they're both multi-billion-dollar industries because people know it works.
It does work. I take CBD oil myself. I got from a health food shop, and I have issues sleeping. I'm like a borderline insomniac. My brain's just overactive, and it really helps to like I've taken sleeping meds before. I've even taken like melatonin and zinc and magnesium, and some of that stuff helps a little bit. But probably the best stuff I've taken has been like sleeping pills, and that stuff it really screws me up though. And so when I started taking the CBD, man, it emulated what it feels like when I've had like, when you've just had like a really, like, regardless of whether you can sleep or not, but you've just had one of those really long days. You've worked all day and you've been traveling, you've been walking all day, and you're just that tired. Not like you feel bad tired, but you're just like, oh man, I just want to like. So. And that's the feeling that I get from it. At night when I'm taking it, it really relaxes. It relaxes it's almost like a muscle relaxer kind of. Like, cause I'm always very tense, and like I'm hermetically sealed, like in a box a lot of the times. And it really helps to loosen me up and stuff. And it's when I started taking it, I was like, man, this is legit. I've always definitely been more of an advocate than a practitioner when it comes to this. And so CBD had just came out, and Alabama had just gotten it. and stuff like that. And I was researching it a little bit, and I was like, I'm going to give this a shot and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then it's fine. I don't have to buy it anymore. But legitimately, man, it really helps me sleep, and I don't wake up in the morning feeling weird or feeling bad like I did when I've taken sleeping meds before. Not that
Mitchell, I'm with you on that as well. I trouble sleeping. It's just turning off the brain at night, just thinking about the whole day, thinking about my patients, the next thing what I got to do. So yeah, I've gone down that path of melatonin, Lunesta, Ambien, and the only thing that gives me the best sleep is CBD.
Yeah, same here, 100%. So 100,000%.
So I live it, and that's why I'm able to preach it to patients and say, you really need to try this. Do yourself a favor and give us a shot. So we talked about THC, we talked about CBD, but then you have flavonoids and terpenoids, and you need all those components of the plant. It's called the entourage effect to really get the full benefit.
Entourage, I like that.
Yeah.
Entourage.
Yeah. It's described as the entourage effect. So flavonoids are responsible for the flavor, and terpenoids, taste. To give you a good example, you've heard of some of these marijuana strains, these cannabis strains out there, like Purple Haze or Purple Dream.
Jimi Hendrix heard of that.
Yeah. So one of the more popular terpenoids is linalool, which is found in the plant, and that's found naturally in lilac.
Okay.
Hence the name purple. That's
how. Right.
So that's the most abundant terpene in some of these strains, like Purple Haze and Purple Dream.
Sure.
It makes so when we think these are just all hippie names and just weird, no, there are actually some sense behind it.
Yeah, that's interesting, dude. I totally did not know. Did you know that stuff, Matt? I know Matt knew. He's a huge pothead. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He's not a big pothead. Put your pitchforks down. Oh my God.
So I find this thing fascinating, man. We could talk cannabis all day.
We could. It's fascinating. Here's the thing, too, Doc. Even if I wasn't, I said earlier that like I'm an advocate for this stuff. Even if I wasn't at all, just listening to this, I'd be like, "What? Get out of here, really?"
Yeah.
It's a super interesting topic to know that a plant, a weed, right, that grows in the ground, has all these benefits. It's like a godsend, right? That's all. I feel like that. That's in a nutshell, man. You can do all this stuff about it. And then what do you know about hemp and like what you can do with hemp? What's the deal with that? I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about that.
Yeah. So the Farm Bill, which is huge recently, just got passed in 2018, allowing the manufacture, the growth, and the distribution of hemp. So I have a buddy of mine who's a hemp farmer locally who's utilizing that and creating his own CBD compounds from it.
He has a whole farm of like hemp.
Yeah.
Wow.
He grows hemp.
You've been there and like.
I haven't been to his farm yet,
okay.
But
hope it never catches on fire.
I've been able to get. I've been able to get products from him.
Okay.
For patients, I mentioned this on a webinar. My first webinar through the Business Accelerator course that I met a girl on a Friday. She's a speech pathologist, and she was showing me this rash that she had on her chest and underarm, part of her shoulder.
Okay.
And it looked really painful. And she was taking.
Do you know what it might have been like? Was it like psoriasis
She was diagnosed with shingles.
Shingles. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. That's really bad neuropathic nerve pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she was taking 10 Neurontin or gabapentins a day and wasn't touching it. And I mentioned to her, I said, have you thought about medical marijuana for this? And she's like, oh, doc, I don't know. Marijuana, I might lose my job. I mean, that's where they go right away.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, forget that. How about CBD? And she's like, no, I never even considered that. I wouldn't even know where to start to get it. I said, let me call my friend who's a hemp farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get you some product, and I'll reach out to you early next week. And I got back to her on Monday. By Wednesday, she's texting me saying, pain's almost gone. I said, get rid of the Neurontin and keep it going for another week or so. The following week, she gives me an update, complete 100% pain-free.
Dude, no way.
Yeah,
no way.
Yeah.
I almost like if I didn't know you, I must be like, BS, dude. You're bullshitting me right now.
And so I print out these testimonials and I have them in my webinars just to read them to people because, you could say, oh, this guy's full
Let me give you a tip, Doc, for the testimonials. You know what sells even better? And I don't mean like, but what translates really well. The written testimonials are good. Video testimonials, if you can actually get them in front of a camera. I used to work at a doctor's office, and we were treating what is it, autoimmune issues like diabetes and issues with thyroid. And after the program was over, the doctor we'd film these testimonies, like video testimonies, so people that were interested or maybe on the fence about the program could see real people give their real opinions about the program and what it did for them and stuff. And so I feel like that's huge, man. If you can get, some people are obviously they're camera shy, but if you can find the ones that are not, or the ones that are camera shy, but you could also explain like, hey, I know you're camera shy, but this helped you. Somebody else that's struggling with this, if they could see this, they could save their life, change their health. So that's huge, man. If you can get video testimonies.
Yeah. So a lot of times when they want to learn a little more about CBD, I talk about a very famous comp CBD called Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
And that was named after a young gal named Charlotte Figi, who she was from the Northeast, and she had a very rare seizure disorder called Dravet syndrome. And this young girl was diagnosed at age 4 or 5 with this and was having 300 seizures a week.
Jesus Christ.
300 a week. And her mom was beside herself. Didn't know what to do. Reached out to a doc in Colorado. At the time, marijuana was legal and CBD, and no one else really knew a lot about it. So she reached out to this doc, and he said, I think I can help your daughter. Bring her out here. And gave her CBD at 4 times the dose that I think the average person would take. And I'm telling you, within a week or two, she was down to 1 seizure a week. It was ridiculous. So then this girl developed a normal childhood, and into teenage years, she was living a normal life until COVID took her life earlier this year. She developed COVID pneumonia and passed away in, I think, March of this year. But she was 13 years old and living a normal life because of CBD.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah,
that is amazing. I mean, it sucks what happened afterwards, but I
think she put CBD on the map. Her story.
Sure.
I mean, if you get on YouTube and look up Charlotte Figi, Figi, it's dramatic.
Okay.
It's dramatic. So, yeah, it works. It works, and I'll preach it to the full. I stopped practicing.
I am so happy that people like you exist, Dr. Mo. Like 100%. Like it makes me feel good that there's real like knights. Like I feel like you're like a knight. You know what I mean? Like you're on a mission. You're spreading like a gospel, like legitimate. Because this stuff, like you said, it's stuff that could save people's life, that will save people's lives. And this needs to, people need to hear this. People need to be educated on this. It's not, this goes so much deeper than just like, potheads, like free, like laying around eating potato chips and like watching movies on, which that is a thing for some potheads, but the concept of what's happening is so much deeper, and people just don't know. This is what I'm always trying to tell people. Like, before you start to demonize something and add this negative stigma, maybe you should really study into it. Is there science behind it? Is there other literature that speaks the opposite? Like, I'm a huge, I don't want to say cynic. I am cynical to a point, but I feel like it's very necessary for people to question everything. Not because you're just like, Absolutely. Oh, this is stupid. Because it helps you to learn. You learn. And for people that just like demonize something immediately, especially this is case in point here. I mean, some things that you demonize and then you study, they're just terrible. Some things you like murder, for example, that's obviously you don't have to like study that. That's, a legitimate terrible thing. But some things that, like this, like a topic like this is something that people just not educated on, and it makes me sad that.
Well, that's it, and I think it's the fear the physicians have a certain air about themselves and ego, and if they don't know about it, then it has to be bad.
Yeah,
and I thought I'm like that. That attitude is irresponsible to me.
Yeah, it's like you're one of those like older people that just get set in your ways, and you refuse to like learn something new. You're like, oh no, I've already reached the pinnacle of knowledge. That's absolute just malarkey, which is funny because that's an old person's term, right? I guess some older person probably throwing their cane at the TV right now. But like here's the thing. We stop physically growing at a certain age, for girls, it's like mid, late teens, guys, early 20s, but you like your mind never, your like level of wisdom you can attain never stops growing until the day you die, right? So you learn. And like I'm going to be learning up and like if I live to be like an 80, 90-year-old man, I'm still going to be learning new stuff. Somebody's teaching me something. Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. And I don't understand why people, you get to some point, especially if you're a person that has like credentials, right? Like a doctor, like you get to a certain point in your practice and then you're just like, oh, well, this is what this is. There's nothing past this. There's no extra learning. I've learned everything. That is the most ridiculous crap I've ever encountered. And
Yeah.
a lot of like doctors are like that. Like it's weird to me. I don't know why that's a thing, but
Well, what frustrates me in my practice is that we see a lot of irritable bowel syndrome.
okay.
I would say over 50, 60% of my practice is IBS, and no one knows what causes it, and it's very difficult to treat. It's quite a burden. I mean, 1 in 5 Americans suffer from IBS.
Explain what IBS is real quick, in case there's some people out there that don't know what it is.
So most people listening probably say, "Oh, I have an element of IBS." So irritable bowel syndrome is basically if you experience abdominal pain at least one day a week for 3 consecutive months, and it's associated with a change in your bowels or frequency or caliber of your stools. So you can have diarrhea with this, you can have constipation, you can have bloating. And if you suffer for at least 3 months with something like this, you're probably going to be diagnosed with IBS. As I researched this more and I studied this, I didn't realize IBS was the second most common cause of work absenteeism, just
Really?
behind the cold and flu-like symptoms.
Wow.
So missed work because of cramping or constipation, or I have so much diarrhea, I just need to know where the bathroom is all the time. I can't deal with this.
Jeez.
Well, for me, I see a lot of that daily, and it frustrates me because I haven't been able to really treat these patients successfully. So that's kind of where I started leaning. I'm looking outside the box. I'm like, there has to be something more than just traditional medicine that's failing these patients. And that's kind of where I started going down the road with cannabis and IBS. And then Dr. Russo theorizes this hypothesis that there's probably a deficiency in the endocannabinoids. So even validates more of what I'm thinking and how I can treat patients better. And
yeah. Have you gotten, you said there's some of the doctors in your practice in your group are kind of like, well, we don't really want to touch it. Have you gotten any blowback from any medical professionals about your passion and mission for educating people about cannabis?
Yeah, early on I was getting, some name calling like, here, there's the pot doc and this and that.
Well, I called you that.
I'm like, oh, well, I'm not really the pot doc. I'm a gastroenterologist, again, with a passion for cannabis and how and its worth in medicine. So, but no, nowadays, again, the thinking is starting to change, and I'm getting actually a lot of support out there. And because I think I'm more vocal about it now, only because I'm more educated and I can back up the claims that I'm making. So I feel more confident going out there and saying, okay, well, I didn't learn this in med school, but I learned this recently, and I can tell you all about how it works for PTSD, not just GI issues. I think it's at some point I'll be able to extrapolate it out.
For neurological things, right?
Most of the conditions in Pennsylvania that's approved for neurologic, but PTSD is a big one. Anxiety just got added to the list. Chronic pain, any type of pain, whether it's fibromyalgia or chronic back pain, abdominal pain. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep on promoting it and see where it goes. So hopefully it doesn't blow up in my face and they start doing research in the U.S. and saying, "Oh, this is the worst plan ever, worst thing you could ever recommend for a patient."
I feel like with everything that's happened and all the stuff that's happened, the studies that have been done, I honestly feel like that's probably. I feel like there's way too much evidence now that it's legit.
Yeah,
100% legit for that too. Yeah. I mean, unless there's like some huge like I don't know conspiracy that like they throw out there, but. I don't know, man. I think the science kind of speaks for itself, and like you said, it's growing every day, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. So, I didn't know if you knew this about me, but I'm a psychic, and I'm going to do like a reading on you right now. So I see in the future Dr. Mo, he's wearing a white lab coat made out of hemp and he's saving lives with pot. Oh my gosh.
That would be nice. That would be
Dude,
nice.
but in all seriousness, all jokes aside, I honestly, I see that for you, man. Like if you have this passion and as long as you have the drive and you keep going after this, man, you're going to turn over some stones and you're going to create a new life like with this. Like eventually, I can't imagine you'll ever live down the GI thing. I mean, you went to school for it, but I feel like at some point in the future, man, it'll kind of be very secondary, maybe even further away than that. And like your main thing would just be like treating people with cannabis and using that and just, I mean, I feel like the sky's the limit for you, bro. If you keep pushing and doing this, because anybody that's watching this right now, I mean, you've heard it, like what he's saying. It's not like he's not BSing. Like this is an honest guy. Like he's being just sincere about it. Like what he's doing, and all of this stuff is like scientific fact. You can look up a lot of these things that he's talking about, and yeah, I feel like you got a great mission ahead of you, man. Just got to
I
keep on.
appreciate that,
You
man.
just got to keep
And
on
again,
pressing.
I haven't. And one of my partners asked me about calling me pot doc and this and that, or how's your business going? Well, I haven't made a dime in cannabis in all the years I've been preaching it, so I can honestly say that it's more of
Yeah, you're
me.
providing value
Yeah,
to the
just
world.
educating and trying to help people. So I get on these IBS support groups on Facebook, and I just get bombarded with questions all day long, and I'm shooting back answers. Try this, try that, to the point where I got to the one day a few weeks ago. I put a post out there. I said, listen, if you guys would like one of my days off, I'm willing to do a Q&A. You can ask me as many questions as you like. And I got thrown out of the Facebook group for that.
Yikes.
And I went back and I read the bylaws, and they said, well, if we think you're even promoting a product or selling something, then we're going to kick you out of the group. And I was thinking, wow, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was just trying to help these people out who are suffering from IBS and looking for some hope. That's all I was doing. Yeah, it was weird. I was just
Wow.
scratching my head like, no, I don't have any physical products. I haven't made a dime in cannabis, and I just love to provide value.
I don't know why they would do that. What's that disease? Is it scurvy that like is cured by vitamin C?
Yeah.
Am I right about that? So that would be
Yep.
like if you went in there and you were like telling these people who didn't know that vitamin C cures scurvy, and you're like, hey, vitamin C will cure you this, and then they like kicked you out. Like, I don't get that. That's weird.
Yeah. There's certain things you can and cannot say on social media.
That's
So
super weird.
yeah.
Super.
So I'm minding my P's and Q's now, but still trying to help as many others in other support groups.
So deviating a little bit, we're talking about it all medically and all this stuff, but from the recreational point, now, what would you say to people that say that, okay, well, this is all great and everything, but people that like do it recreationally, it causes you to be lazy and just sit around and watch TV and eat junk food all the time because you got the munchies and you don't have any ambitions and you're just like in this cloud. Now, and with this question, I do know of some people who are proverbial potheads, and that's all they do. Is it the pot that makes them do it? I don't know. I mean, if they didn't do pot, I don't know if they would still do that. Maybe. But all I know is like they're super high all the time, and that's all they do is get baked and they eat junk food and like watch Netflix all day. So what would you say to that stuff? Like what?
Again, that's real. That's but a small percentage of cannabis users. I know a lot of professionals, lawyers, um, that are advocates and recreational users, and there's no problem there at all. Yeah, but you're going and I think just in anything you indulge in, you're going to have that small percentage of people that will be like that. If you're alcohol, same thing.
Right.
Alcohol.
So are you saying you think you can overindulge in marijuana if you did it recreationally? Like you're doing it too much and it just kind of like I don't know.
You can develop a dependence for sure. Small percentage. I think it's 8%.
Okay.
And the way you can get around that is easily just taking a drug holiday. Ideally, you say 28 days away, allow the receptors in the brain, the CB1 receptors, to reset.
Okay.
But even just 3 days off, you should be fine, and that won't have that craving. but not all potheads, and not cannabis users are all potheads. Just a small percentage for sure, but
Yeah.
not
Somebody was telling
everybody.
me once too. They said that they feel like it's more that's more of the individual than it is the actual substance
Yeah.
that you're
There's
doing.
definitely a genetic predisposition to how you respond to cannabis.
Yeah.
But if
Like
you're
if you're
using for
already a
medical
lazy.
reasons, you're not going to be using a whole lot of THC in your compound. The ratios are going to be more probably heavily weighted on CBD,
Hmm.
4-to-1 ratios, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So cool, man. This has been so engaging. Matt, what are we sitting in? Ooh, dude, the time has just melted away, dude. I feel like I've only been talking to you for like 10 minutes right now. We've
yeah,
been at it almost an hour, bro. So we've just educated everyone heavily on the magic plant, the marijuana plant. So tell me a little bit about you, man. I mean, I know a little bit about you. Obviously, I know a lot about you, actually, but people don't know about you. What else do you do besides try to save people's lives with pot?
oh boy,
What do you do,
another
man? What do you do for fun?
couple passions. I have multiple passions, but besides cannabis, I love musical theater. My daughter, she's 14,
Is that
and her
her in the
dream.
background here? Is that one of her
Yep,
back here?
yep.
Okay.
That's her in the background.
All right.
She her dream is to be on Broadway and be performing in front of huge audiences, and she's well on her way. So I do that with her. I'm along for that ride, and we're in New York on Broadway probably once a month, taking in shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, we just Disney Plus just released Hamilton,
Yeah, you
and
told me about that the other
of
day.
course, that was a huge date night for us. We
Okay.
sat down and we had candy and popcorn, and
Dude,
we had it on a big screen out back in the backyard, and
I
we
like it.
watched and enjoyed it. But we had seen it in New York
Okay.
when she turned 13.
What's better, the play or the movie?
Well, it's the original cast that's being streamed right now on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
So Lin Manuel Miranda, who's the guy who wrote it and directed it and acted in it, he was Hamilton. Um, that was his original cast, and this was recorded back in 2016. So they kind of knew they were going this direction. It was actually planned for release next year,
Mm-hmm.
but because of COVID and everything shutting down on New York and Broadway, we're not able to go see shows. They thought it'd be just a good time to release it and just get people feeling like they're back and enjoying theater again.
It's
So
awesome.
I love musical theater. I love music in general. I see concerts, live shows as much as I can. My musical tastes vary anywhere from Led Zeppelin being my favorite band to
Okay.
listening to a lot of Kanye West recently and Jay-Z. I mean, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Um,
Didn't you tell me you went to a Slayer concert not too long ago?
yeah.
He like
So,
he likes heavy metal and hardcore and all that stuff.
well, this is a band I always wondered why the fan base, why is it so crazy? And they came from locally, and the tickets were really cheap. So, Buddy and I went and checked it out, and there were four bands playing that night: Pantera,
Oh my
Ministry,
wow.
Primus, and
Primus.
then the headliner was Slayer. And my friend Jeff and we didn't really know their music all that well, but we couldn't leave the show.
Mm-hmm.
It was so engaging. They just kind of pulled us in. We're like, okay, one more song, we'll leave.
Yeah.
And the show just got better and better and better. And we're like, wow, these guys really are that good. And now they're in their 50s, 60s, and they're calling it quits. This is their last ride.
Oh really? I didn't even know
Yeah,
that. Did you know that, Matt?
yeah,
Didn't know that.
that was their last concert, their last tour. So it was their farewell tour, which was pretty cool. Um, and we talk about music. So one of my neighbors, you remember the band Poison?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the original lead guitarist.
Your
He's
neighbor?
he's
Wow.
two doors down. So
Okay.
yeah, so Brett Michaels, Ricky Rocket, and all these guys are from where I live in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so when Brett comes home, he'll come and visit my neighbors. So at some point, I'd like to meet him.
Yeah, dude.
But it's funny we talk about music because it kind of circles back around to David. He he won't you mind me sharing this with you. He has Crohn's disease
Okay.
and been suffering with belly pain, diarrhea, rectal bleeding for years and years and years. Nothing worked for him. We got him on a regimen of THC, a little cannabis and CBD twice a day.
Okay.
The guy is gold today. Changed his life. No more pain, no more bleeding, no more diarrhea.
So no symptoms.
None. He's a new man.
That's
let me tell you.
wild, dude.
Yeah.
Why is like this not more of a thing? Like this is wild to hear this. Like it's I'm not over exaggerating to this either, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a dramatic person, but I mean, he's talking about somebody that has a chronic disease that so many people suffer with. It's terrible. He's just taking some supplements from a plant, and he's good. Like what?
He got off all the BS medications he was on that was just hurting him more than helping. Yeah,
it's freaking amazing. Dude.
Yeah. So I do a lot of theater, lots of shows, and my other big passion is what I live through my son now. We're both golfers.
Okay.
And
Dude, you're so weird. You're so weird. You like pot, you like metal, you like Broadway, and golf.
Right? I'm all over the place, man. But
I love it, dude. It's
excellent. I appreciate it. I have an open mind, and
that's good. Yeah.
And so my son he's 13. He played in his first competitive golf tournament on Monday. Took a bronze medal.
No, dude, heck yeah!
And he was and he's only 13. He was playing against kids on high school golf teams, and really competed well. I was really proud of him.
Yeah.
Now he's at the age where I can't caddy for him anymore. At every event, I'm there caddying, carrying his bags, cleaning off his grooves on his clubs, and telling him what the yardages are, what club he should be hitting. Now, as they're getting older, you can't do that. So I tell you that because there was one hole that cost him the tournament. He should have gotten a gold medal.
Oh no!
But he left his sand wedge, if you know anything about golf, on the previous hole. Yeah. And when he got to the 16th green, he realized, he's like, "Dad, I don't have my wedge." I'm like, "Where is it?" Because I think I left it back on the 15th green. I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm not allowed to help you." He had to try to improvise, and he ended up taking a triple bogey on the hole. It cost him 3 shots there, and it cost him the tournament. But he's still pretty happy with the bronze.
I mean, that's huge, dude.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I'm happy to see him growing up and getting his mindset right where he needs to be to compete. So this weekend we're going out to Philly and playing in the Hurricane Golf Tournament, which is a national junior golf tour. We're playing a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. Well, he's playing. I'm going to be walking behind him.
You're going to be his fangirl. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm his biggest fan.
Nice.
Just like my daughter, she knows when she's performing and she's on stage, there's going to be one guy who's sitting front row center at every show.
I love that, man. I would like people listen to this too. Like you gotta, if you have kids and stuff like that, and they have dreams, man, you gotta follow them. No matter how ridiculous it is, they want to be a clown. Then freaking put a wig on and a nose or whatever, and like get them going to clown college, whatever. Like. Yeah, I love hearing that, man. It's so inspiring because so many people are like, I talked to Miss Suzanne Preston from England the other day, and she talked about how her mom, when she grew up, all she wanted to do was like very eccentric things. She wanted to do theater. She wanted to do dance and yoga and just, do film. And her mom was like, oh no, you need a proper job. And that just wasn't in Suzanne's head. She's like, what is a proper job? I don't understand that. And, it makes me sad when like you hear like parents that are like that. And I know a lot of parents, they mean well, right? They're like, oh, they're chasing after these fantasies and these dreams and stuff. But it's so much more enriching. And they just worry about, I guess, their children failing. They're trying to become a rock star or something. And I feel like it's just... For some, maybe it's just they don't have enough faith in their child, which I feel like they should reevaluate the way they look at the world and stuff like that. Like you can do whatever you put your mind to. You can do whatever you want to do. And it's so weird when people are these detractors to people that have dreams. I've never, like, people have came up to me with the most wildish, outlandish things that they want to do, right? It was like, I want to eat prime rib for a living. And I'm like, dude, let's do it. I love prime rib. I'm all on it. I'm excited. And, other people are like, what? That is the stupidest thing ever. Why would you get a proper job? Get a proper job. I hate that crap, dude. And so I feel like you, and especially with you being a doctor, you have a prestigious title. And I'm not saying that, I mean, your kids, obviously they're excelling at what they're doing, but, for some people, like, I I don't know if their kid wanted to be on Broadway, they might be like, well, I mean, that's nice, but maybe you should look into,
Yeah,
you know,
if you ever met my daughter, you would know. Uh, she's the kind of kid, if she puts her mind to it, she's gonna get it.
I like
And
that.
I told her, I
That's
said,
good.
if you can dream it, you can be it. I tell both my kids that. So, um, but I told her, I said, Broadway is still a long shot. I'm going to support you everywhere I can, but you should have a backup plan.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. A
she's bright.
contingencies. Yeah.
She's really bright. She gets straight A's. She's a student council president. Um, and I said, so what do you think that backup plan might be? She goes, well, I'm kind of interested in law school. I'm like, perfect. What a nice backup plan. So if Broadway doesn't work out, you're an attorney. That's great.
Look at you, man, raising up these champions,
And
these
my
champs.
boy, he's now seeing that there's some real potential in golf
Mm-hmm.
at 13 because there's a kid at our club who just committed to Duke on their
Okay.
golf team, and
Nice.
he just got sponsored by Titleist, a big company in
Mm-hmm.
golf,
Yeah, I heard of
where
them.
they're
Yeah.
providing him golf clubs and bags and balls and gear and all because he's being endorsed by them. And Zach was like, "What?" My son was like, "Wow, maybe I can get that stuff too."
Heck yeah.
I'm
Heck
like,
yeah, you can.
absolutely, you can. You
You got
just
a
work. Put
bronze against a bunch of high schoolers? Heck
I'm
yeah.
like, put the work in, and you'll get there. So yeah, yeah.
It's amazing,
I'll
bro.
support him any way I can, man. That's
I
just
love it. You're such a
what
good
I do.
dad, dude. Wish you were my dad.
And I don't miss their
I'm kidding,
events.
bro.
That's one thing I don't miss. Whatever they're doing, I find a way. I change my schedule around to go out there and be there for them.
Yeah, you hear that out there? Dads and moms? Listen to this guy. And he's not high right now. He's talking sober. Do this stuff with your kids. Support their dreams. Don't crap
Yeah,
all over them. Proper
yeah,
job is whatever they want it to be, whatever that
yeah,
is. So
yeah.
I get to the point of the show now where I ask the individual, good sir, and I think we've covered a lot of cool stuff, man. You've really educated me on. I'm going to go back and watch this again after we have it out there. I mean, it's already out there, but yeah, I'm going to watch this again just because I feel like I got to take notes. But this is the part of the show towards the end where I ask the person that I'm talking with, what do you, Dr. Mo, Doc, what do you wrestle with, man? What is like your biggest demon that you're just tussling around with right now? Was
That's
that too heavy of a question? Were you not ready? They hit you with
no,
a
no,
cheap
no,
shot.
no. You know, I get, again, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that I'm my soon-to-be ex. I'm right in the midst of a divorce,
Okay.
um, and a lot of self-reflection this throughout the process, a lot of personal growth, um, and realizing, you know what, we're humans. You're going to make mistakes. Just don't continually beat yourself up for it. You got to find forgiveness in there somewhere. Forgive the other person, forgive yourself, and just continue to grow. And eventually things will get better. So it's easy to fall into a dark place and depression. But I think a lot of times things happen for a reason. We're sitting here talking today for a reason, dude. And I truly believe that. If it wasn't for COVID, I would have never taken that cannabis course. I would have never taken this business course that we met through. And
Sure.
here we are. So, and because of you guys, you and the whole supporting cast from Team Billhorn and others that I've met along the way in the course, um, I just have a good outlook in life right now. Again, I could have taken the other path and been depressed and pissed off about everything that's going on, and realizing, oh my God, everything I worked for, I'm gonna lose more than half of it soon. But you know what? I do well in life, but money doesn't buy you happiness, man. Money buys you things.
Amen.
So so friendships and relationships, and that's what it's all about. Meeting you and Jeff and just so again the whole team from Bill Horn and Lee Chapman and just a lot of good people keeping the mindset positive and keeping you motivated. That's what it's all about. And like you said, you see me wearing a hemp lab coat in the future, promoting cannabis, probably. I mean, the sky's the limit on what we can do with cannabis and treating patients. So,
Wow, that's great, man. I love it. I'm going to say what everybody says, Doc. When you reach the top, don't forget about little old me. Everybody says that. If people say that to me, they're like, "Hey, when you make it to the top, man, don't forget about me." Why do people say that? Is that like, what is that? I'm going to forget about you. I'm kidding. Well, I mean,
and you will make it to the top.
So will you, man.
Yeah,
we'll make it to the top together, dude, and we'll collab and we'll partner up. And I made it like you're my friend, legitimately, and you're just a really cool, down to earth guy, man. And you don't, like you just said, money isn't everything. Money is freedom, but it's only an extension of freedom. It's not the whole tree. It's not the roots. There's something deeper there, and I think you realize that, and I like that about you, because you are a man of prestige. You have a title and you have these accolades about you, but it's you don't let it kind of like hamper you as a human being. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, we all like. I had a guy on here that talked about like you cut yourself, we all gonna bleed the same blood. The same blood comes out. We all like piss and shit. Like no man is better than any other man or woman out there. And so, like when you realize that, and you realize the importance of friendships and relationships and community, and I mean, that's the stuff that makes the world go round. So I feel very fortunate, very blessed to have met you and to make friends with you, man. And
likewise.
Many times in the future, I hope we can connect. And I can't wait to actually meet you in person, dude. Give you a handshake, give you a hug. It's gonna be great.
I know. I was hoping at least September for the graduation ceremony, but that doesn't sound like it's going to be happening probably until next March.
Really? You know something I don't know then. What are they saying?
Well, just the travel.
The travel stuff.
COVID is going to, the band's probably going to be there again.
Jeez.
Well, but either way, I'm planning, again, another guy along the way, Jeff Wright. I got to throw him out there as well. Guy I met, I still haven't met in person, but we talk and FaceTime just about every day for the last 3 months. Big support system for me as well. And he's down in Tampa, so at some point you're not that far either.
I'm not, and I'm actually going to the beach. Together. I'm going to the beach soon too, so I might have to look him up.
Yeah.
So, Doc, I want you to plug in your stuff, man. You've got a webinar coming up, right? Are you doing a webinar for?
I am, again, to talk more about cannabis and.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
More educational.
Go ahead and plug in, man. Tell everybody about it.
It's July 22nd, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be well worth half an hour of your day just to listen about my spiel on cannabis and treating GI conditions and how you can get involved as well.
Okay. And then also, how can people reach you? You got a website, social media stuff? How can they find you?
drmorengen.com. MORENGEN.com. Pretty easy. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Perfecto. My friend, you are a god among insects. I'm so glad to be living in your light, my bro. Hey, pound it right here on the screen.
Absolutely, dude. And we're gonna meet eventually. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, who knows, man? We might end up working together in some way, some fashion, somehow. Partners in some fashion. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I don't know what the future holds, and that used to scare the crap out of me. And now I'm just like, bring it on. I like it, man. I've gotten used to taking risks and adventuring and being a little nervous and a little fearful of what the future holds. I like it, man. That's my drug, I think.
Oh man! Again, the sky's the limit. Look at Keelan in the academy. He went from his last $150 in his pocket, to
He's
now
what, a 6-7 figure business now.
He has a $500,000 deal. He's rubbing shoulders with Brian Rose and the $50 billion man Dan Pena. He's doing his course at the castle in Scotland, and the guy it all started with him being trapped in Australia because of COVID.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, again,
That's definitely finding an opportunity, taking it, and running with it. I
right.
love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
You're doing the same with this podcast, and who knows where cannabis is going to take me as
Dude,
well. So
you're
yeah.
on it, man. I feel it. Like when I think about you and I think about what you're doing, I get chills because I know it's real. It's for real. It's going to be something. It's going to be awesome. Mo, thank you so much for being on, bro. You gotta be back on again. 100%, man. I could talk to you. You and me had a conversation once for what? What was it? 4 hours? We clocked in at over 4 hours.
Over 4 hours.
Yeah. I mean, this guy got chemistry. I love it, man. Thank you so much for being here, bro. Really appreciate it. Thank you for educating me, educating everyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is our first live podcast show with Dr. Mo. Check out his stuff. Go to his webinar. If you have health issues, especially GI issues, he is your doctor. And he's one of the coolest doctors around. He's the coolest doctor I've ever met. So check him out. Also, check out the Wrestling Diaries on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Also, check us out on Spotify and Apple iTunes, Apple Podcast. We're there. Follow us. Spread the word. We're just trying to find out, what are you wrestling with? How can you beat it? One love.